TopMedTalk. So happy holidays from the TopMedTalk team. And for those of you who are celebrating Christmas, you'll be pleased to know that the TopMedTalk team is going to be here right through the Christmas period. Yeah, of course you are. So here we are on Christmas Eve, and the TopMedTalk team has come in to wish you all a happy holidays and to just lay down a few thoughts about how the year has gone. So I'm here in the studio with the ever-present Nick Margerrison. I think he lives here. I think he's got a camp bed here. Is that right, Nick?
That's right, just around the back there.
Yeah. What are you doing then on Christmas Eve? What's your plan here in the studio?
Well, I'll be fixing fixing that light.
The flashing light
that you don't like.
Yeah, good man, Nick. You'll be all over it, sorting through your equipment.
And that's your Christmas present.
Oh, and as she's diving in, we'll just introduce our guest from overseas, our special anchor from the United States of America, our lead in the USA. You got a new title as well, Desiree. What's the new title you got for TopMedTalk?
Managing editor.
There we go, managing editor. Did you like that?
That's good. Yeah.
So, Desiree, how are you? We'll show a picture of you later on, but we can see you in your house in Louisville, in Kentucky, in the USA, and you have got a Christmas tree sticking out of your head.
Is it really sticking out of my head? Well, it's just kind of next to me.
There we go.
Look at it. Oh. I'm so proud. I love decorating Christmas trees.
That is a very beautiful Christmas tree. It looks like you've got all your presents around the Christmas tree ready for...
I do. Thanks to Chris Chappell, my wonderful husband, who loves to wrap Christmas presents.
Well done, Chris. Well done, Chris.
His mom doesn't.
And are the kids excited?
They are so excited. And we're ready, so it's good. We have all the presents wrapped. Santa has all his gifts in his bag, ready to be delivered, and the kiddos are kind of beside themselves. They look for the elf every morning just to make sure that he's reported back to Santa and that they've been good, which is debatable, but that's okay. So it's all good.
No, hey, Mum, back up on that one. They've been good, haven't they? They deserve those presents. Great kids.
Oh yes,
yes,
of course.
Of course,
my little buddies.
They might listen to this someday.
Maybe. I love you, boys. You're perfect all the time.
So we're going to do a special short transmission today, tomorrow, and the day after. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. So we've decided to spend our holiday. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
We're committed to this whole thing. And we've decided to go through some highlights of the year quite quickly. Some moments that we remember from a fantastic first full year of TopMedTalk 2018. We're going to go through the year in 3 sections. We're going to do the first 4 months of the year right now. We're going to reflect on a few of the meetings we were at and some of the conversations that we've had. And you, Nick, are going to put all of those clips that we refer to in the show notes, such that people do want to dig back in if it's the first time that they've come to TopMedTalk or they're listening to this at some stage next year. They can go down those little rabbit holes and find all the different work we've done in this area.
That's right. So if you go to topmedtalk.com and click on the appropriate page for this podcast, all of the things we're talking about here will be linked to.
Excellent. So our first really full trip on the road was in February of 2018. We went to a special meeting in Newport Beach in California. The whole TopMedTalk team went. Martin Howe went, Henry Howe went, yourself, Nick, myself, and Desiree was there starting and kicking off her round table. So Desiree, some reflections on that meeting. What was the meeting again? Because I think you're going again soon, or you're speaking this next year coming up.
We were at the American College of Perioperative Medicine Interdisciplinary Conference for Value-Based Care in Orthopedics. And I am going to be there again this year speaking about enhanced recovery and goal-directed therapy. But this meeting for us, I think, was fantastic. It was our first time sitting together as a team. And like you said, the first time I was able to sit down at a round table and have a conversation with people that come from different backgrounds and, really talk about the things that are important to us in perioperative medicine and hear from other people and what their perspectives are. And so it was a lot of fun. It was great.
And your round table's gone really well. Have you got any sense, Nick, of how many round tables Desiree's done during the year? High tens, I would say. Are we up into the 100 yet or so?
Probably the longest series that we've done of all the series that we've done yet.
Extremely popular.
And interesting as well from my point of view, because at this point in the story, I didn't know much about medicine and all these kinds of things. I was from a background in media, and I thought, what are you going to be able to talk about? And then I watched the round tables happen and that multidisciplinary thing where you're mixing different people in. And it was clear that there was a lot to talk about. And it was, fascinating to watch Desiree as well dive into action on the... Do you remember the first one, Desiree? I remember first meeting you. You dived in like a proper professional presenter and rocked it up. It was great.
I think there was a few glasses of wine on that particular table.
Yeah, I skipped that detail.
Which went well. But
I had to. It was the first time I sat down. I was, I was really nervous.
And Zeev came was extremely generous with giving us access to the meeting and facilitating the roundtable discussions. You got to pick a favourite. What's your favourite moment from that meeting? I know they're all wonderful, but you got to pick a fave.
Yeah. Okay. So, I do have to say the very first conversation that when we sat down with Shauna Butler and Jennifer Brandon, who is a nurse and a physiotherapist, there was just, for me, that moment of like, this is really going to work. Like, I think these conversations can be something of value to a lot of people. But my very favorite conversation from that meeting was with Eric Schneidewind, who is the president of AARP. And we had a great discussion about not just what matters to us as care providers, physicians, nurses, those people taking care of patients, but what matters to patients the most. For us, we sometimes get in the habit of treating patients as, just a number, somebody that we have to move through the system. And it's not about that for patients. Patients want to be able to have better quality of life, better functional status after surgery. And he addressed some of those things and talked about how the AARP is helping patients and their constituents navigate the system. So I thought that was really cool.
So, Nick, can you play us a little clip from that?
Yeah, let's have a listen.
Many times you go into healthcare and the question is, should you have an operation or a procedure? But our members really tell us that they want health so that they can do something. The famous example, a woman said, I want treatment so I can dance at my daughter's wedding. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. And so to do that, what AARP is finding is that there are a number of practical measures that we can push for. We can't do everything. One of the measures is people benefit from having a health professional who works with them, helps them navigate through the health maze, get them the things that make their life better. That may not be a doctor. It may be a nurse practitioner. It may be a nutritionist if they have a nutrition problem. So let's configure the healthcare system so that those skills are available to people that may be more effective for them than some medical procedure.
So there we have it. Listen to your patients, and that's a great message there as well. And if the patient wants to dance at their daughter's wedding, then that's our objective is to facilitate that, not just do what we think is right. So I'm going to move us on. I'm going to jump us forward to March, and we're going to go to Fort Lauderdale for the American Society of Enhanced Recovery and Evidence-Based Perioperative Medicine 2018 meeting, usually held in Washington, D.C., where it's back again next year. But this is a little trip down into Florida, which I think everyone who was there enjoyed, seeing a bit of sunshine. And we started off beachside and then recorded a whole mass of information. Again, any particular favourites from there, Desiree?
Yeah, I mean, what I love about ACER, the American Society for Enhanced Recovery, is the fact that we're, again, bringing the multidisciplinary team together. And we had some really cool conversations with nurses, enhanced recovery navigators, the whole team. And so that was really cool. But one of my favorite conversations came from one of my colleagues, actually, Dr. Patrick Shanahan. He's the medical director of the group that I used to work for at Ottoman Hospital in Louisville. And he is the person really that I learned about enhanced recovery from, and he's very passionate about it and making a difference.
So, Nick, can you play us a little bit of Pat Shanahan?
Yeah, let's have a listen to this.
When you hear someone talk about the opioid epidemic, and the contributors from my perspective are us as physicians, but also the way society, government in particular, has set up this stream of managing pain, the fifth vital sign, which I despise that terminology because it has created part of this problem. But I thought the session was very good, covered exactly what we need to cover, which is the basics of whether we can get away from opioids as a pain management scheme in surgery, and what that does to our population. And what it does is it changes the focus. It changes it from no pain, and there is no pain, and this is how you take care of pain with this narcotic and take it home and to protect yourself from having pain ever, to life has pain, surgery is painful. We can manage your pain as your healthcare provider. We can help you get through this crisis of pain in the short term. And as life goes on, you're going to have some discomforts, but don't connect that discomfort with a need for a narcotic to take care of it.
Right, now, Nick, you reflected on the fact that you're new to all of this, and I think this is the first time you heard us talk a lot about this opioid crisis, and you've heard a lot about it over the year. What are your reflections on that?
Well, this is one of the interesting things for me about TopMedTalk, is that I, like most people, have probably on the periphery heard of the opioid crisis in that, am I right in saying it's taken Prince, Michael Jackson, all these people, they were all addicted to these painkillers and drugs and stuff like that. And there's lots of famous people who've died as a result of it. And it seems to be quite a common conflict between patient comfort and patient safety that plays out in a lot of different ways on TopMedTalk. And I remember realizing that it was a serious thing and that it was perhaps even being caused by the health profession.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we've all agreed to face up to this year, is that we healthcare providers have inadvertently probably made a significant contribution to this area, and we're in a good position to put our own house in order. And I think a lot of that's happened now in the USA, hasn't it, Desiree? You're really starting to get a grip on the number of drugs that people get to go home with, the number of OxyContin tablets, etc. And we've discussed this a lot, but I think progress has been made this year, so cause for celebration. There's a lot of sadness in there, but I think to celebrate the fact that there is some real meaningful change happening.
Yeah, I'd say meaningful conversation, that people are really starting to talk about it and come up with different ways to address the issue.
Following it, though, has been a strange experience for me, because what's happened is so by this point in the year, I was thinking, right, no opioids whatsoever under any circumstances. But then as things have progressed, I've realised that it's not a binary thing, that these are tools, and you don't necessarily have to have no opioids or too many. There's a happy medium somewhere.
And we're going to have a lot more discussion about that next year. I think some people are worried that the pendulum's swinging too far the other way, and in going down the multimodal approach that we're starting to use relatively untested drugs and maybe causing some unintended harm there as well. So we'll have lots of good convo about that in 2019. Jumping forward again, April was a big month for us and a big month for evidence-based perioperative medicine, because we had our first EdPOM USA meeting. We've had previous meetings in collaboration with different parties, going back some 10, 15 years. We've been collaborating with Duke EdPOM since the noughties. But this particular one was badged as EdPOM USA, the practicum held in Atlanta, led by Dr. Sol Aronson. So it was quite a moment for us. Did you enjoy that meeting, Desiree?
It was. It was wonderful to be able to finally put that in motion here in the U.S. And we had some great feedback from the meeting. People really loved the idea of the perioperative practicum and talking about kind of next level perioperative care, kind of beyond enhanced recovery. So that was cool. And they really loved the format as well. We had a lot of great opportunities to have discussion and do some different things. So, yeah, it worked out really well.
What I was really pleased about is one of the challenges we made to Sol Aronson, who ran the meeting effectively without support, but he's the person who got us over the line there to say, come on, we've been talking about this for far too long. Let's do something about it. Let's go at risk. Let's put this on, which worked successfully. Was that a key part of the meeting was not just talking about the right thing to do, but how to do the right thing. What was the value proposition? How do you do the business case? Show me your recipes. Let's be open about this. Let's share this knowledge because it's in the patient's best interest. So I thought that went extremely well. So I'm going to choose a clip from that, if that's okay. I want to hear part of Sol's opening speech about evidence-based perioperative medicine.
But it's not just the declaration of surgery, it's the contemplation of surgery. And there's a small part of our, population that frankly should be advised not to have surgery, because in the balance that may be the best answer and something that we need to involve their family and other extenders with. So to align with population health standards, we have things like smoking and pain and sleep apnea that probably are outside of our radar. 50% of our population smoke. 67% suffer some kind of sequelae. It's as great in secondhand smoke as it is in direct. The cost of smoking to our society is greater than $300 billion a year. 21 million smokers a day try to quit. The recidivism rate is grotesquely high, greater than 90% if you just go to a quit line. We're going to learn about this in the next few days. And you can see pain, huge endemic. We're all familiar with these data, and Padma is going to teach us a little bit about that. I think it's phenomenal to know that 96 patients a day die of an opioid overdose in this country as we sit here today. That's a statistic that is just overwhelming for me to speak to. And sleep apnea, probably 20% of our patients have a stop-bang score of 5 or greater if you bother to look. And we monitor that. We may record that, but I ask us, what do we actually do about that? How are we contributing to the population health paradigm of managing that endemic disease in this country in perioperative care?
So we're going to go to that Nick chooses clip of the year. So, Nick, we're going to close on the first half of the year here. We've done, the first 4 months. We've chosen some highlights. Coming up on time here, what was your most impactful clip of the year from your perspective? Okay,
so it's a Christmas show, but this was a really powerful clip, and it is actually a really positive clip. Yep. But it's Paul Wishmeyer, and I remember him relating his story about opioid addiction that was brought on by him being treated, and wow, he tells it so incredibly well. And I remember he was sat with you guys talking about it. And the reason I say this is kind of an uplifting clip in my mind is that he's sat there. The guy looks like a Marvel superhero, doesn't he? I mean, he's built. He looks like the Hulk. And then he's talking away. You even say in the interview, you look great. And yet he's talking about this serious health problem that he's had. And the way he describes it is so emotive as well. So for me, if you only ever listen to one thing on TopMedTalk, this is what I've always said to people, listen to that one piece and you'll be drawn in. It's an incredible piece of audio.
The withdrawal I would experience was debilitating to where, I would vomit and I would shake and I was non-functional. And I thought, well, I have to be able to work. So I have to take these drugs. And if I don't take these drugs, I'd get down to 100 and I could never get below that without severe withdrawal.
Were you addicted?
I was addicted. Clearly.
Did you know that you were addicted?
I absolutely did, but I didn't think there was anything anyone could do. It was like being possessed by a demon. And every day I'd swear, I'm not going to take these. But I couldn't go but 2 hours, and I would feel so terribly that I had to take them. And I actually imagined I would never again in my life ever feel normal. And that I'd always be possessed by this demon that could destroy my mind and my body, and I would never escape this.
Is that particular drug an issue here, or is it the broad class of drugs?
It was pushed, for a long time.
Well, and it's the drug. I have to say, I've taken every kind of opiate there is, and that is unique. Yeah. I ultimately went to rehab for this, and I said, you know what, luckily my chairman came to me and said, Paul, you're struggling. Do you need help? And we have a wonderful physician health program in Colorado. Yeah. And they said, you're going to rehab. And I said, okay, well, can I go in a week? And they said, no, you're going tomorrow. Okay. And I spent 3.5 months in a physician rehab in Virginia. And it was one of the best things I ever did for myself. And they taught me how to get off these drugs. And I learned in there that if you're a heroin addict, because there were plenty of those too, the only drug they will take other than heroin is Oxy. Yes. It feels different. But what's different about it too is the withdrawal is immensely different.
Right.
I can take hydrocodone, I can take codeine, I can take even Dilaudid as a patient, and I can work my way off those. I was never going to work my way off Oxy without help.
It is
fundamentally that there is no reason anyone should get oxycodone for any reason but cancer and terminal pain.
Wow, that is, listening to that again, that was an incredible moment. Desiree, moved by that? You were around the table at the time. That was quite a conversation. Do you expect that?
It was. No, I was not at all. I'd known that he'd had issues before, but the way he described, going through the experience that he had was unbelievable. And really, it was one of the first times when I sat down with a guest and was like, this can really make a difference for not only us as providers, but for patients as well, what we're doing. So it was great. And Paul was so wonderful to share his story with us.
And a really heartwarming bit about it is we all have the potential to find these challenges in life, is how supportive medicine should be and very, very often is in this circumstance. So if you have a problem, you think a friend or colleague has a problem, the important thing is to put your hand up and be open about it, and people will wrap around you and protect you and help you to get through, which is exactly what happened with Paul, and he expresses that extremely well. So there's a positive note to end this first section on. So we will be back tomorrow on Christmas Day to wish you again a happy holiday. Desiree, any closing comments?
No, thank you so much to all of our listeners. We appreciate you guys supporting us over this last year, and hopefully we're going to have many years to come. So Merry Christmas. Cheers. Happy holidays.
Happy holiday, everyone.